Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo Rodriguez, Environmental Planner for the Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments.
I'm Christine O'Neill, also an environmental planner for NVCOG.
And today we would like to discuss the Sullivan's Island Fishing Pier. Back in 2019, we held a public session to get the public's input on different ideas of what the pier could look like, public engagement status. And we put all those into account at that time. Now, since 2019 to 2021, some time has passed, and we would just like to give you guys an update of the status of the fishing pier and where we stand today. Next slide. Okay, so next slide. So we're going to quickly discuss the who's who in the project, who's involved with this project. First, Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments is the regional government who applied for the grant and who is overseeing the fishing pier project. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services is the administrator of the grant funds. HRP is the engineering firm, and the city of Derby will end up being the landowners and the party involved with various approvals of the permits. Next slide, please. So quick timeline. Back in 2018, NVCOG, with the assistance of the city of Derby, applied for a grant from GE, which is handled by the Fish and Wildlife, as we mentioned before. Dating to July 2018, the Fish and Wildlife and NVCOG met and agreed on a cooperative agreement. In 2019, an RFP was submitted and HRP was selected as the preferred engineer. In 2019 is when we held that public session where we got the public input on design specs for the fishing pier. Back in 2020, the city of Derby approved the wetlands and planning and zoning permits. In 2021, the state and federal permits concluded August, which involved the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as well as CTD. And today is where we are right now in the 2021 public session. It is our hopes to have this project going out for construction bidding around early fall. Next slide, please. Here we can see a quick overview of what the fishing pier is going to look like. Next slide, please. As well as a quick Google Maps view of the overview. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Here is a better overview of the specs of the fishing pier. We're going to have the fishing pier moving 30 feet into the water, with it being a width of 80 feet with 16 feet left. Next slide, please. This is a quick overview of how it's going to look on a side view of the fishing pier. Next slide. This is with everyone's, the public's input. This is the final product of what the OSI fishing pier is ultimately going to look like. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Next slide. This is an overview, looking from the top down. Next slide.
Okay, thanks, Ricardo. So I'm just going to go over some of the particular questions that you may have had in mind in coming to this session, or people who are watching afterwards. I'm going to see if I can tilt this. That's great. Okay. And if you could go to the next one, please. Okay, so who can use the fishing pier? This will be owned by the city of Derby. So it is a public pier. Anyone can use it as a viewing platform. However, to fish, of course, you need a license. just a note, the pier is ADA compliant, so people of all ability levels are able to use this pier. Next, please. Okay, so can the pier be used for non-fishing recreation? Certainly for viewing, you are welcome to use it, but swimming where people are fishing might get pretty messy, so that's probably going to be a no. And in terms of using it as like a kayak launch or something like that, that's not what the pier is designed for. It's really just for fishing and viewing. Next, please. So will parking be available? The image up here shows a view from looking over from Route 8. That's from Google Maps. I did not stand on Route 8 to take a picture. As you can see, there's about 10 parking spots there. This is an existing parking lot that's associated with the Derby Greenway. So it will also be used for the fishing pier, and it's accessible off Caroline Street. And if Rich could go to the next slide, just to sort of demonstrate how to get here. We are right up there. And if you turn off Main Street, just follow all the way down Caroline Street, you'll actually go under Route 8, and that's where the parking lot is. Next slide. Okay, so if you're a fisherman and that's why you're here because you want to know what fish you can catch, whether the limits or size requirements, all of that is pretty much out of our hands. That's all CT deep. So one of the slides Ricardo was showing demonstrated that there will be a signboard there. So right when you walk into the site, there'll be a signboard with all necessary deep postings that shows you everything from consumption advisories to endangered fish that you need to throw back, things like that. And then we have some links for anyone, if you're super interested and want to learn about the regs, we have them linked here. Next, please. Okay, if you're a tree hugger like me, you're probably wondering, is this going to hurt the fish or the plants? The answer is that we have had the best of local, state, and federal government look over this and make sure that it is environmentally sound. As you can see, we have a laundry list of commissions and services and such that have reviewed this. We can safely say that this is a very environmentally conscious project. And if we go to the next slide, please. The results of all those reviews were a couple of major things are being put in place. Due to this, I can't really tell from that picture, but they're absolutely adorable. The short-nosed Atlantic sturgeon, I think there's another type of sturgeon as well. They are an endangered species. And so during their most critical period, which is their spawning period, between April 1st and June 30th, in order to protect them and other fish like them, there will be no in-water work taking place. Also, when we are doing in-water work, a turbidity curtain is basically going to keep any sort of upheaval from the sediment really compacted in one area so it won't affect the rest of the wildlife. Next, please. And finally, down the line, who's going to maintain the pier? If 5 years from now you've got a question about the pier, it's going to belong to the city of Derby. So our role, HRP's role, and Fish and Wildlife's role ends with the end of the construction. So to our vast audience here tonight, does anyone have any questions for myself or Ricardo? Jack, please.
Yeah, what's the pier made of? Is it aluminum or what?
Actually, if you can go back, Rich, it's galvanized. Yeah, I'm sorry. The pier is a wooden structure, but there's galvanized steel poles that are going in the with concrete footings.
Yep.
One more. So pressure treated decking, lumber supply. Call Randy Kelly at Coppers. That's
What kind of signage is there going to be?
He will be providing the signage that's going to be presented at the site. So it's going to be catch pickup. There's going to be as a catch limit as well as a advisor.
Will it be on the pier or in the parking lot?
That's on the signboard, I believe. So if you actually go to the next one, there's going to be a sign that's right when you come off of the parking lot and go down the path towards the pier. I believe that's where that sign with the plexiglass is going to be posted.
The Duffy's question.
Who's gonna keep updating it?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking more about the parking lot.
Yeah.
The parking lot's a disaster.
It's currently a disaster as it is.
Yes,
Okay.
I go there every day. You know, it's not maintained, it's full of ruts. You know, none of it is marked. And, you know, there's a lot more parking spaces than 10 there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I don't even know how they figured out there were 10.
I think because of,
People park all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
I believe what we'll be doing, and don't quote me on this, Jack, is that we'll be striping the spots that are gonna be designated for this access on the edge, and Rick and I have talked about this offline as well, because as we all know, we have this, the ramp over there, which is owned by the state, and the underpass, everything under the underpass is owned by the state. So I
Right.
think we're gonna try to kind of bifurcate this parking, which is gonna be further to the east, if you will, I guess, right, so that further, the point that you showed a picture of.
right,
And I'm sure once we have a major use like this down there, that DPW will make sure they're actively maintaining it and filling in whatever gaps are over there to make sure the parking is sufficient. We'll get on
thank you for bringing that to our attention.
it.
Well, if there's not any other questions, I think we will conclude for.
Yeah, Rich, could you just go to the last slide, just so it's recorded, very last one? It just has my contact information. If anyone's watching it later in the future, you can feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and certainly get you any, please.
Time frame.
Oh, time frame, yeah, that was on the other slide.
So
Yeah, but it did talk about.
we
the actual
anticipate to
construction.
have the, to go out to bid, early fall of this year. And, the plan is to, select a contractor, working with HRP, the city, and ourselves at the COG. And, once we, select the preferred, developer for the pier, the goal will be to, present our steps to Fish and Wildlife, and they should be able to give us the green light to, move forward and actually start construction of the.
Well, based on that other slide about no construction.
We have to,
April and
yes,
June.
But note
We're
that that was
talking
no,
about-
no in-water construction,
Oh,
so
I
we
know,
can
I
get started
know.
with the,
we can start on the outside. That's where
So
we
we're
have
talking
to
about
meet with Fish
completing-
and Wildlife and let them know this is what we have right now, where can we fit and start the construction. We have to be very, very cautious. We don't want to disrupt the fishing.
the diagenous
Yes.
fish spawning grounds, yeah.
That's
Right,
what
so we're talking about completion end of next summer.
I think it would be
Not
really
close.
hard to commit to a completion date, and we don't even have the contractor yet, because,
Yeah, don't go as far.
It's not, I will say this, it's not a super robust construction project.
True,
I mean,
very
once you get
true.
into the waterway,
Yep.
but we may be able to do some on-land work and everything, from my understanding, prior to that April date, and then maybe commence some of the in-water stuff after that June date. Is that maybe reasonable to potentially, depending on the contractor and their schedule? But we're not talking like a 3-year construction here. We're talking a relative, like a one
That's
construction
correct, yeah.
season.
No, once they're in the water, it's.
hopefully. However,
Yeah.
this project is a little cursed. It has suffered some delays before, so.
Well, that's why I asked. I mean, based on what you said, it seems reasonable to me by the end of that summer.
Yeah, definitely,
We'll
that's
see
the
where
hope.
that traffic comes.
Absolutely.
I'm not a fisherman, by the way. You'll never see me out there fishing.
But just
Thank
come enjoy the view.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. I think that's,
Thank you,
that's
Richard.
everything. Thanks, Rich.
Rough line.
Getting adjourned.
Still recording.